So Julie, as we all know, Julie Foudy, two-time World Cup champ, co-captain of the U.S. women's national team. Woo! Oh, maybe here. Yeah. Two-time Olympic medalist, analyst for a number of networks, including ESPN, Warner Brothers, a.k.a. my teammate on air, and also my running partner when we're on our trips, too. She saves me a whole... and former president of the Women's Sports Foundation, and she says kind of. Before I introduce you both, I got to say this. It's all about teamwork here, right? We're all about teamwork. A few months ago, I ran in a marathon, and I tell her about a month before, I'm training for a marathon, and we traveled
to which I said, holy shit. What are you thinking?
And we travel the country together. We wake up in the morning. Usually on game days, we're like, yo, you working out this morning? You going to run? We usually, do a nice little 3-miler. But that morning, I had to run 8. And she goes, I'll come with you, but I'll only do 3. And I'm like, okay. So we go and we run, and we get to around the 3-mile mark. And she's like, all right, I'm going to tap out. I'm like, okay. She's like, maybe there's a scooter around here. We find a Lime scooter. And I'm thinking, maybe she's going to scoot her way back to the hotel, and I got to do these 5 miles by myself. It was hilly as hell. I don't know where we were. Maybe Connecticut?
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Yeah. And she's a captain. She's a leader. She's a teammate. She scooted with me all 8 miles.
Yeah. I paced her. I'm like, let's go, Ortiz.
Yes, she did.
Pick it up.
Yeah, so amazing. My 9-year-old self was like, is Julie Foudy really freaking running with me? Well, scooting with me right now? All right. On to the next. So we have Dean Jacobson, Managing Director at technology-focused investment firm Excel. Thank you. KKR. Also, the former president of Summit Partners, where he was involved in private equity investments in the tech and financial services sector. And we also have Jeremy, who you all know, Jeremy Goldberg, here of League Apps. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's go, J-Dog.
El presidente. I think you're right there. Yeah. Perfect. All righty. So, oh my gosh, Brian! I'm like looking for these things. Where's Brian? Where's Brian here? Do I have Brian?
That's all right. We know Brian too.
Brian. Give me. Okay. Brian, can you please introduce yourself right now? Because I can't even find through this. Brian Litvak, the CEO and co-founder of League Apps.
And now the historian of youth sports as of today.
I hear 15 years on the resume. All right. So to kick off, each one of you brings an entirely different perspective just about youth sports and in your experience. Julie, I'm going to start with you. What is the importance that you place on youth sports that drives so many things that you're involved with? And to reframe, you are a mom, and you're a former athlete, and you're highly involved in sports.
First of all, so excited to be here. Hello to everyone. I've heard for many years about this conference from Jeremy and Brian, and had never been able to make it out to one. So I'm super excited that I get to make it out. I also have the Women's Sports Foundation Gala tonight, which is going to be super fun as well. So good day all around for sports and for women in sports. And to your question, Melissa, I think the value, as all of us who've played know, is that it shapes every single part of your life. It is the gift that keeps on giving. And it's why I have been such an advocate for Title IX for so many years. It's why I've been such an advocate for kids playing for so many years. It's why I became an investor with League Apps. It's why when Jeremy reached out in the beginning and said, hey, are you interested in also advising and helping and doing work with us, I was like, heck yes. Because as we know, this space is a bit cluttered. This space is a bit chaotic, and I want to make sure that the youth sports experience for young kids is one that is positive, that is, because it's life-changing, it's life-affirming, as we've heard so many people talk about in various aspects of life, like they go back to their early years of playing or where they were and how they started playing a sport that transformed their life in a really positive way. So I could go on for about 3 days on this, but I won't. But as we all know here, the power of sports, it is the gift that keeps on giving.
Dean, now I know sports has played an incredible role in your life. as a player, parent, coach. Can you share more about the role that sports has played in your life and how that inevitably got you more involved in this on a personal but also on a career level?
Sure. First of all, very intimidating sitting. You guys are great too, but
These two.
I'm going to try and be interesting here. Actually, sports is a huge part of who I am. My parents, I immigrated from South Africa to America when I was real young, and honestly, sports were a big part of how I became American. You know, we grew up playing different sports. My parents threw me on a baseball field, which I was very, very bad at. And then ultimately, football became a big part of what I did, who I was.
Which football? American football or
Sorry,
football?
American football. I also
I was going to say, I was thinking the other football.
No. South Africans do play soccer. I have 2 left feet, so it did not work out very well for me either. But I ended up playing football. It's how I ended up going to Harvard. And it was a real launching point for me in my career. I grew up as an immigrant and really opened a ton of doors. I'd say, and I'll come to a parent in a second, but it's I think football and team sports in general are so seminal in what we do as adults, who we are, how we lead, how we influence and teach, and so it's a big part of who I am, and not only the sports aspect, but as a human being. I do have 2 children. I have a 17-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter. My son plays a lot of sports, primarily football, but also he wrestles, he does track and field. My daughter's a water polo player, so I am in the midst of experiencing the other, we were talking earlier about who your customers are. Myself and my wife and our kids are our customers, and so we're navigating a lot of the stuff that League Apps helps make better. So I think all those things are what makes this so passionate for me.
So to continue with what makes it so passionate for you, you lead a technology-focused firm, and it specializes how software can transform industries. Can you share more about what exactly that you do with this firm and also in the area of youth sports?
Yeah, so our firm's called Excel KKR. It's right above me. It's been around for 25 years. Just to give you a sense for it, I've been at the firm for 16 years. We manage about $20 billion in total amongst 150 people around the world, primarily in California, where I'm based, in Atlanta, Georgia, for any of you that are from the Southeast. And really what we specialize in is partnering with founder entrepreneurs to help them scale and advance their businesses. If you look at where we invest, it's really around vertically oriented software and payments businesses. We've spent a lot of time in sports. We had one relevant investment in Team Snap. It was a very small investment, but we've virtually talked to every company in the space. But a lot of our investments look very similar. We have a business that I'm involved in that's focused on churches, very, very similar. We had another business focused on nonprofits, and then you can extend that to local government. What we do is we partner with companies that really understand an end market, have built a solution and a passion around serving that end market, and help them scale. And we like to use the term advance their journey. How do we? One of the things we talked a lot about is where do you want to be in 10 years, and how do we get there in 5 or 3? And so it's both capital, expertise, and partnership. And so that's who we are.
Brian, Leagues App just announced a partnership with Excel KKR. Can you tell us more about what this partnership will entail and also what the future looks like with this?
Sure. So at the start of this year, we found ourselves, me and Jeremy, in a really fortunate position that we realized our business had grown and was at the point where we could go out and find new partners to help us get to the next phase of our growth and our development. And we've said for a long time, we want to be the most impactful and influential organization in all of youth sports. And the only way we can do that is by going out and partnering with all the sports operators that actually make sports happen within communities. And when we saw the need to continue to build valuable solutions, as Julie said, it's cluttered. There's a lot out there. And we have this vision of what it could be and what it needs to be and how we can help create positive sports experiences. As Dean mentioned, the lame joke I often say when I'm talking to investors is we started this in 2010 to help communities organize sports, and we've come to find out 15 years later we're a vertical SaaS payments enabled fintech software company with high retention and gross consumption pricing. So we knew that investors would be interested in our business in many parts because of the partnership we have with all of you and the relationships that we have and the way that we provide solutions to your organizations. And we also recognized after 15 years, and this is much of what each of you are going through in your own organizations, who is the right partner for the next phase of our journey, for our business. And what we knew is with things like this conference, and Jeremy does such an amazing job and puts such care into making this happen, that we had a lot of the connectivity around youth sports, the relationships, the ability to understand and the insights in the market. But we saw that we could use a business partner who had expertise in payments, who had expertise in vertical SaaS, who had expertise in scaling software. And we knew that was one of the things that would be essential for the next phase of our growth. So thankfully, we were able to go out and find a partner in Excel KKR that align with our values, with our vision, with the way we can create more valuable solutions, with the way that this opportunity in youth sports could evolve. And then over the last 3 or 4 months, just really got into the details, and very fortunate and very thankful, and Dean's confidence and his team's kind of conviction led us to closing our deal last week and announcing it on Friday. And it's been pretty awesome so far to kind of get all get the word out and get such kind of encouragement and positive sentiment from everybody here and many of the people in our networks and our communities. So we're excited to share all the things that we plan to do to create more and more valuable solutions for sports communities.
Jeremy, Brian just touched upon the vision, and I want you to talk about the vision of what League Apps will do, especially with the partnership, and what it looks like in terms of the impact for youth sports.
Yeah, one thing we talked about it this morning, but if youth sports is in this kind of evolutionary period, as much as youth sports has changed over the past 5 years or 10 years, or when my dad was coaching my sports leagues back in Dallas in the 80s when I was dominating those rec leagues.
You have the trophy still?
Right, exactly. I have trophies. The trophies are bigger in debate, and there's a debate in the office whether debate counts as a sport. I mean, at the end of the day, victory is a victory. Let's just remember that. But
It's definitely a sport.
We
Exactly.
have 2 Olympians, a college captain, and Jeremy on stage. The athletic crowd.
Collectively, we've been in the Olympics multiple times as a panel. But as you really think about that evolution and change, and then start to think about how much more the world's going to change of youth sports in the next 5 years, right? You think about the role that technology is going to play, AI, augmented reality, virtual reality, more standards, more the way that parents and kids' expectations are shifting. When you believe all that and understand all that to be changing, then the question ultimately is can we meet that moment? Right? What are the ways that we can influence that change? What's the way we can partner with that change? And I think one of the things that I think excited us is there's a lot of things that stay the same about this, the nature of this partnership, which is the core belief we have that the people that are making sports happen in communities, the organizations that are hiring the coaches, that are setting the policies, that are designing the programs, they will be more and more important than ever before. That's where the changes are going to be. And what we're excited about is what are the ways that we can deepen our partnership with them to help them meet that changing world of youth sports, and ultimately meet the needs that the parents and kids have. Because it's driven by a conviction of such potential and such belief of the people in this room and the people we work with, but also the belief that things can get so much better, that youth sports can be better in a way that's more inclusive, with higher standards, better experiences, that goes beyond what just happens on the field. And we're excited that we now have the ability to play a bigger role throughout all those dimensions of what happens with sports. And I would be remiss to say that that is not just about the impact on the individual kids and the people that we have the privilege to work with. at a societal level, there are so many challenges that I think all of us feel right now in our world, right? So many things that feel broken. And yet, if you think back to the experience of the Olympics this summer, there was something that felt so right about that, right? A sense of hope, possibility, connectivity, and that sports has this power to humanize in such a powerful way. So if we do our job, and we believe that we have an opportunity to be even more impactful, then that is something that could have such a profound impact in our society that's sorely needed, given all the challenges that we face.
Julie, you mentioned you're an investor in League Apps, and you're also a user of it.
A user.
Because your daughter plays soccer, and your son plays basketball.
Yes.
And, what is your hope for how this industry can get better, and of course how a platform like this can help impact it?
Yeah. Oh, there we are. It's working again. We also run a camp, a youth sports camp, and so we have League Apps that helps us with the camp, which is huge. So on that front, it's enormous because getting organized on that front, of course, in terms of registration and making it seamless is a big thing, as we all know. But I think my hope when I came in and talking to Jeremy and Brian was about how do we take this space that feels very overwhelming, I think, to a lot of people. I think to parents. I, too, am a parent of a 15 and 17-year-old. Dean, let's go. We probably should go into therapy for that. But, I mean, it's a lot, as we know. And if you have high school kids or young kids that are playing sports, I mean, the stress and the teams and the apps and just all the chaos that goes with it. I mean, I literally, the other day, I was like, I don't know what app it's on. Does anyone have a game schedule? Is it Sports Engine? Is Team Snap? Is it League Apps? What is it?
You should see how good she is at social media.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Crush it. So I think my hope is that we get to a place where it's very user-friendly for parents. It's easier to communicate. It's seamless. I know that's so optimistic. It's never going to be seamless. But that we create a space that is, Jeremy, to your point, it's a healthier, more joyful space. I feel like with youth sports nowadays, and not to blame the apps on this, but there's a lot of pressure, and as our kids are trying to play at the next level, they, instead of finding the joy in sports, which is, my experience, is that it becomes a grind, it becomes a job, and so I'm really hopeful in the vision of League Apps in terms of recognizing organically how can we go about disrupting this, because it does need a disruptor. It needs someone that's going to come in and say, this is not working. And it's not going to be easy, as we know. There's a lot of people and shareholders and stakeholders in all of this. But I do think that you have people sitting here on the stage who are willing to say, we can do this better. And we can make this a space that actually is joyful again, because we know it is a gift, sports, and we know it's something we want our kids involved in, and parents should be embracing it instead of running from it. And so that's what I'm most hopeful about. And obviously the foundation's work as well that League Apps is doing in terms of building a community that really understands the importance of that and getting our priorities set with bringing the joy back into sports.
Dean, what is the vision and mission that excites you the most about the partnership?
Or excites me. I grew up in Southern California. You can say I get psyched about it. I think a lot of what Julie said resonates. I think we have a unique opportunity driven by a vision and a passion to transform youth sports and make the experience better, obviously for the athletes and the parents, but also for the folks who drive clubs. And I think there's opportunities in what we do today, and hopefully what we'll do in the future with capital resources and the like to make your jobs easier and quite honestly make leaders in your respective industries flourish. And I think one of the ways that we can help transform youth sports is by giving those who are forward thinkers those who are the best operators the tools to grow and expand and in doing so make youth sports better.
Bren, there are a lot of people in this room that are maybe seeking advice in terms of seeking investment or are getting offers, considering investment. What is something that you can share with them that can help them navigate through something potentially like this in youth sports?
What we see is that a lot of organizations have grown beyond even what they expected because there is such enthusiasm by families and the willingness to not just put their time and their passion, but financially invest in their children and kids' sports and activities. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there, but it's also easy to stray off track. So as you grow your organizations, to really keep a clear vision of what you want to achieve. Do you want to stay on the field and coach, or do you want to start to have more influence by having more programming in more communities? I think these are the things to really answer, because if you don't proactively answer them, and we even saw this with our business, if we didn't proactively decide the path that we were going to go down, someone else will decide it for you. In your case, it might be parents or families. In our case, it might be other investors that we had in our business. So really, the more you have clarity of your vision and of what you want to accomplish, what I love to ask sports operators is, how'd you get involved? What makes your organization unique? And where do you want to be in 5 years? You probably have heard me ask you these questions today or over the last decade. And I think the more that you're able to crisply answer those questions, the more I know how League Apps or My Relationships Connections community can help you achieve that. So as you think about, do you need investment to accomplish that? Do you need capital? What type of partnerships do you need? Do you need more software or technology? Having a really clear goal of where you want to go helps inform that. And then once you understand what you need and why you need it, then there's, and one of the things that I'm always amazed by is how well sports operators execute, how they make all these different activities and events happen all over the community every day with all these things that are getting in the way. So once you understand what you need to accomplish, then you could go out and execute. And I think for some organizations, receiving investment, whether it's in a facility or more programming or building a larger team, is absolutely the right way to continue to grow. And then I think for some organizations, keeping it at a size where they can control as an owner-operator, or where they can be on the field coaching and being close to kids, or having more of the types of kind of teams and programs that they want, might be the right choice as well. I say all the time, and I say this to the team, I love being in a space where there is such passion. Everybody here today wants to be here. Everyone who operates or organizes sports has passion for it. When they wake up in the mirror and look, or when they wake up and look in the mirror, they're so excited for what they can do each day to help make sports happen. And our job is to match that passion with all of our partners, and I say that to our team all the time. So don't let investment get in the way of that, because I think that's what makes this space and industry and community special.
Coming from an investor, but one of the things I would say is, if your businesses have the underlying growth and the metrics, capital, it's pervasive. Like you will find capital. What I would really encourage you is to make sure that you're strategically and culturally aligned with your investor. We spend a lot of time with these guys and the broader team and in all our investments, making sure that we're rowing in the same direction. We have the same goals, and quite honestly, hopefully, when there's bad news, because there's always bad news in companies, it's part of it. They don't mind calling me, and I don't mind hearing from them. There is something about making sure that your investor is someone you want to work with and who shares a common vision of where you want to go. And so, if you do bring in capital, just make sure it's the right capital. That would be my only thing I would add.
Jeremy, Julie mentioned nonprofits, and League Ops is involved in many different initiatives. What is it like to, one, partner with the nonprofits, but also what is the plan going into these types of areas and the impact it will bring?
Yeah, I think a few things. One thing I think that ends up happening when we think about this issue of access, right? Consider that almost 50% of kids in this country aren't playing sports, right? And so we'll hear from Tom Ferry tomorrow about an initiative across the industry to actually get and move that participation rate up to 63%. Now, no one listened to me when I said, why stop at 63%? Can we get this in the 90s? Like, everybody should play sports and at least have that experience. But we've got a challenge with access. So one of the ways I think we think about it and what the opportunity is to realize that the pursuit of driving more access is not determined by your tax status. You could be a for-profit or you could be a nonprofit. The real question is that do you care about driving more access or do you not? That's actually the more important question. Because there are plenty of organizations and strategies that may be for-profits that think about how they're bringing more people into their programs. I think the biggest space for innovation is in the organizations focusing at the most competitive side of the sports to think more at the recreational level, to bring a higher level of coaching and standards at the entry level of participation. As a volunteer-based coach in a flag football league, we made the playoffs, so that part's all right. But I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like watching the San Francisco 49ers and implemented a Shanahan offense for 7-year-olds and 9-year-olds. It seems like a good idea, but I don't really truly know what I'm doing. And I'm like, I think there's probably professionals that really know what they're doing that should be engaged here. And so I think there's this notion of, one is we think about who we work with, within the core partners we work with. What are the ways that we can help provide the tools to allow you all to pursue the strategies, to drive more access, to drive more innovation, to create better experiences so more kids stick with it versus not. And then the second thing is that, to your point, there's also then the way that we've thought a lot about people that run programming that's very low cost, that can't really afford certain investments in technology. And so a number of years ago, we started an initiative called Fun Play to make sports more accessible by providing our software and services the same way we do it for customers that are paying us, but to give that same capabilities to sports-based youth development organizations that couldn't afford it. We've now made 200 of those grants to communities around the country. We've impacted hundreds of thousands of kids through that. And Brian and I have such conviction and belief as we're taking this journey to the next level that we announced last Thursday that as we're spinning out this 501c3, Fun Play Foundation, that we're increasing our ambition for that as well. So we've announced a goal to raise $1 million between now and the end of the year to increase and provide access to 500,000 more kids over the next 2 years. Now, we don't have a plan, and we usually have plans for things. We're going to figure out how to do that, but we will do it, right? We will put that goal out there, and we will figure it out, and we want to support more and more organizations that are doing great work, whether they're customers of ours or whether we're supporting them through the Fun Play Foundation. And then the final thing is that sports is a team sport. One of the things I'm also prideful of is that we founded and co-chair the Play Sports Coalition. The funders of the Play Sports Coalition are some of League App's biggest competitors. But we sit at the same side of the table, realizing that we can get more kids in the system. We've now unlocked over $30 million through government grants at the federal and state level to make sports more accessible. And I believe that can be up to $1 billion within the next 10 years of more money going to more organizations and creating more spaces. Where's Matt Liber? Matt's in the room way in the back. Matt just told me there's a bill that's coming online to increase the number of youth sports facilities in the country and make it easier. Matt's got 27 co-sponsors. It's a bipartisan bill, and that will be one of the next projects we'll work together as an industry. So I think we're just getting started as we think about the next phase, what we can do, how we continue to lean in those initiatives to make sports more accessible.
That's incredible. I know a lot of people in this room are leaders in your own organizations, and how you lead a team and how you lead the team to success counts on so many different things. So I'm going to ask this question to Julie, because you've been part of a few championship trophy lifting teams, but what do you think was the most in terms of teamwork that led you to success?
I think the most important trait is actually, it wasn't necessarily standing on top of a podium, although granted that was very important as we were all competitive crazies. But I think the thing that actually held us together, and we talk about this a lot, especially with our 1999 women's team, which is actually getting honored tonight at the Women's Sports Foundation Gala, because it's our 25th anniversary of that World Cup win. Which is really cool. But the thing that we were most excited about in terms of culture building and team building and why we were successful was this secret sauce that we loved each other, truly. Like, we still have a very robust, I often argue too robust, text thread that happens all the time. It's constantly in the middle of the night, I'm getting, drunk FaceTime calls from the group. And yet there was this willingness to try and change the narrative. And it's what I see as part of the DNA of League Apps, which always attracted me, is that there's a willingness to say we can do this better. We want to change the narrative of how people view women's sports, how people view women in sports, how young girls see women playing on a soccer field or on a basketball court or on a tennis court or whatever it is, right? That we can change how culture accepts the way that women are brought into and introduced to sports. And so I think that was one of the most important things for our team is we felt like we were doing something bigger than just winning a medal or winning a World Cup. And that has always mattered greatly, the legacy you leave and leaving the, as we always say, we want to leave the sport to the next generation in a much better place. As Billie Jean King used to say to us all the time, you have a blank canvas. What do you want for the next group? Not for you. What do you want for the next group? And that's what I think about when I think about League Apps and the power of what they're doing here is that's the potential you have on the plate.
One thing I'll say about Julie, you think of having athlete investors or well-known investors, and you're going to do these like PR appearances and cameos and things like that. But Julie brought some of her teammates, Carla Overbeck, and to a League App Zoom. I think it was during a company-wide Zoom during COVID, and just spoke for an hour about the 99ers and the team and the culture and holding people accountable. And that they weren't afraid to get in their teammates' faces when someone wasn't. Kind of pulling their weight, and we watched this video over and over the last few years, Julie, because there's such gems of wisdom for culture and for team, and that applies just as well to the business world and to League Apps as it did for the championship teams that you were on. So it's been an awesome experience to learn about how you can win in your organization from what you learn from sports. And I think that's why we all do this, because there's such appropriate life lessons from sports that you take with you throughout your entire life. And appreciate kind of Julie doing it so eloquently almost every time we hang out. She doesn't even realize it probably, but we're learning so much about things that apply to League Apps.
Dean, you also played sport, but also have such a incredible resume in terms of the career and the companies that you've built or worked for. What is the most common characteristic that you've seen that helped leaders or someone like yourself lead to success?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say, I'm just thinking through all, it's two things. One is passion, a passion for what they do, and two is just alignment. It's teamwork. It's having a group of highly committed people who care deeply about their mission, and they just got grit and determination to go make it happen.
Jeremy, League Apps works with thousands of organizations and has the vantage point of understanding what it's about organizations and leaders that make them the most successful and impactful in youth sports. What patterns do you see in this industry?
And maybe a couple quick things I see. One of the tells that's really interesting for organizations that I think are growing and scaling innovatively is whether somebody who's leading the organization has worked outside of youth sports. And if they have, there are people that are general managers of restaurants, there are people that have been in other kinds of sectors, but if someone has an advantage point outside of youth sports, they bring an entirely different lens with respect to how they think about growing that organization. Or you have people that are really curious about learning from other industries and other perspectives, like many of you are here today. I think the second vantage point that I see is that organizations that realize that there's an opportunity to broaden the ways that people understand their value proposition, which changes dramatically the relationship they have with their parents. I'm curious, with show of hands, how many people have on their website recruits that have been committed to schools, D1, D2, 2, 3? Raise your hand if it's on your website. See a bunch of hands. How many people have on their website the LinkedIn profiles of everybody that went through their organization? That's one of the ideas I think should really catch on. The story is not about whether they got to college or if they won. The story is about what they did in life because of that sports experience. And if that is the frame, there's only so many scholarships and spots in a team, right? Or only so many places in a particular university. But the ability for people to have a transformative effect for sports, that's an unlimited potential. The more that that organizations understand how to tap into that as the value proposition and set that expectation for parents, one is it makes it a lot easier than promising people are going to get scholarships and admission. And two is it opens up an entirely different way that people are thinking about the value that you can deliver and really unlock the power of sports. And I think organizations that are really successful, I think, are really tapped into that broader positioning.
Brian, you've now led League Apps for over 15 years, and this new investment and partnership is one of the newest and biggest milestones yet. what do you see as the most important drivers of success that you can share with others in this room to think as they grow their own organizations?
I very much would love us to see us continue to use these kind of core foundational values in our business to help us achieve our goals and to win. And I think if we can win which is, achieving success in terms of number of partners or in terms of the amount of impact we have to organizations that we work with or the solutions that we offer, the number of registrations on our platform, we have all these different metrics. But if we can achieve those goals in a way that's true to our kind of values and our standard behaviors, I think that's will be incredibly successful. I think that will be just in this phase would be an incredible way to be valuable to our partners, be valuable to our investors, be valuable to our team. And I'm very much looking forward to, with the people on this stage, putting everything we have into trying to accomplish that.
One last, do we have to end it now? Or?
We have to go because the next speaker is also a League Ups
Very
investor
true.
who's got 20 minutes on site.
Perfect.
I'm going to let you introduce her
Let's
because
do
she's
it.
about to pop out behind the curtain. But I'll let you wrap up.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jeremy, Brian, Dean, Julie, for joining us for this one. Honestly, this is eye-opening for me as well as a former professional athlete and someone that grew up in the youth sports lens. So thank you all for this incredible panel.